There's a quiet hum of discontent that often vibrates beneath the surface of our lives, isn't there? A subtle ache that whispers, "Is this all there is?" You might feel it in the moments between tasks, in the stillness of the night, or perhaps even in the midst of what others might perceive as success. It's a longing for more, a yearning for a life that feels truly abundant, not just in possessions, but in peace, purpose, and genuine fulfillment. Many believe poverty is simply a lack of money, a consequence of circumstance, an unfortunate hand dealt by fate. They look at their surroundings, their upbringing, their education level, and conclude that their future is already written, a predictable outcome of these external factors. But what if that belief is the very cage that keeps you confined? What if the invisible walls that limit your potential aren't made of brick and mortar, but of thought patterns, ingrained habits, and subconscious beliefs that actively sabotage your progress, even when you're working harder than ever? This isn't about blaming you for where you are. It's about illuminating a profound truth. The true landscape of wealth begins not in your bank account, but within the boundless territory of your mind. It's a frontier that, once claimed and cultivated, can rewrite your destiny. Every habit you embrace, whether it's a gentle nudge towards progress or a heavy chain of self-destruction, sculpts the contours of your financial future. If you find yourself struggling today, it's not because you're inherently flawed or destined for scarcity. It's because certain patterns, deeply etched over time, have kept you bound, and it's time to recognize them. This journey we're about to embark on is about understanding those patterns, dismantling them with compassion, and rebuilding with conscious intention. The path to true abundance isn't paved with luck or a sudden windfall. It's meticulously constructed through the persistent repetition of correct habits. It's built on the bedrock of discipline, fueled by a relentless commitment to learning, and propelled forward by focused action. This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about the undeniable, often uncomfortable science of how lives are built and how destinies are forged. There's a stark reality that many shy away from acknowledging. It's not merely the amount of money you earn that dictates your wealth, but what you do with it. This truth, though sometimes jarring, shatters the comforting illusion that simply earning more will magically solve everything. Because if you haven't learned to master even a small amount, that lesson won't magically appear when the numbers grow larger. Money doesn't transform you. It amplifies what's already within. So, where does this cycle of limitation truly begin? Often, it's with a seemingly innocuous habit that erodes your future while captivating your present, spending more than you earn. This is so ingrained, so normalized, that it often passes without notice. You might live on the edge, with every incoming dollar already earmarked before it even reaches your hands. Automatic purchases, desires disguised as needs, credit cards that offer a fleeting sense of freedom but forge increasingly heavy chains. These are the subtle saboteurs. It's not necessarily a failure of character that brought you here, but perhaps a lack of conscious upbringing in financial matters. You may have been taught to consume, to impress, to react emotionally, rather than to build, invest, or decide rationally. This habit, innocent on the surface, is a silent thief of your future, trapping you in a cycle of perpetual striving without genuine progress. This invisible trap, where every small, seemingly insignificant expense, a forgotten subscription, an impulse meal, a fleeting trend, accumulates, leaves you without a margin, without a cushion, without the capacity to respond. When life throws an unexpected curveball, your financial world teeters precariously because there are no reserves, no control, no plan, only accumulating debt and the gnawing sensation of forever chasing something you can never quite grasp. To break free from this requires more than fleeting willpower. It demands a conscious decision, a brutal honesty about your financial reality. It means tracking every expenditure, dissecting where your money truly goes, and asking yourself, with unflinching courage, is this bringing me closer to the life I desire, or pulling me further away? This introspection is the genesis of transformation. You don't need a raise to escape this cycle. You need order, direction, and the courage to start. Begin by saving, even a symbolic amount, not for the sum itself, but for what it represents, self-mastery. Each time you choose to save, you send a powerful message to your mind. My future matters more than my immediate impulse. This message, repeated consistently, begins to forge a different kind of character, one that is stronger, more strategic, and profoundly committed to your long-term well-being. And here lies the most potent truth. As you gain control over your money, you invariably begin to gain control over your life. Money is intricately linked to self-esteem, self-concept, and your ability to say no to what you don't need in order to say a resounding yes to what truly matters. The path won't be easy. Resistance will surface, and the urge to quit will be strong. But if you persevere, if you maintain focus, if you cultivate discipline, you will witness small, yet cumulative, results. Eventually, you'll realize you're no longer living on the precipice, but possess reserves, options, and a profound sense of peace, not by chance, but as the direct fruit of courageous, consistent choices. Because poverty is not merely a lack of money, it's a lack of strategy. And every habit you redefine in your favor is another building block in that strategy, guiding you toward a life of genuine abundance, unwavering stability, and continuous growth. You are not destined for this limitation. You are merely a daily decision away from changing everything. The second insidious habit that perpetuates financial hardship, often more subtly, but with even greater destructive potential, is the pervasive tendency to postpone crucial decisions. This isn't merely procrastination. It's a sophisticated form of self-deception. It cloaks itself in the guise of waiting for the perfect moment, a time that, in reality, will never arrive because it's an excuse to avoid the inherent discomfort, risk, and effort that are invariably linked to genuine growth. You might feel like you're in control, meticulously planning and strategizing, but in truth, you're surrendering your agency. Each time you defer a decision that demands immediate attention, you forfeit precious time, squander valuable opportunities, and drain your mental energy. The internal dialogue often becomes, "I'll tackle that later, once I have more capital, when my schedule frees up, or when I feel truly ready." Yet, that idealized moment remains perpetually out of reach, because the myth of perfect preparation is just that, a myth. Fear of potential failure often masquerades as prudence, as logical foresight, or even as sensible caution. Meanwhile, life continues its relentless march forward, debts steadily escalate, years slip through your fingers, and the only tangible change is a deepening reservoir of frustration. Postponement offers a deceptive comfort, but its yield is always barren. It can keep you incredibly busy, engaged in a flurry of activity, yet utterly unproductive in terms of meaningful advancement. It's akin to sitting in a car with the engine running, dashboard lit up, but remaining stationary. This state consumes your resources, erodes your mental clarity, and ultimately leads you nowhere significant. To break this cycle requires a profound reorientation in how you perceive and approach action. You must abandon the notion that you need to feel motivated before you can act. This is a cornerstone of the delay. Many erroneously believe that a surge of inspiration, a wellspring of energy, or an unshakable confidence must precede any important undertaking. The undeniable truth, however, is that action is the progenitor of motivation, not the other way around. The most effective strategy is to begin doing what must be done without waiting for the desire to arise. Motivation will invariably follow as you start to witness tangible results, and those results are exclusively born from the act of deciding and moving forward, embracing potential missteps with courageous resolve. Making decisions is rarely an effortless endeavor. It necessitates relinquishing the romantic notion that you can achieve all desired outcomes without commensurate effort. It requires selecting a path and acknowledging that challenges, adjustments, and even setbacks are not possibilities but certainties. Yet, it is precisely this path that unlocks genuine growth, fosters profound clarity, and cultivates true independence. Every day, your capacity for focused, energetic decision-making is a finite resource. When you choose to postpone, you effectively squander one of these precious opportunities. You then fill that void with distractions, justifications, or inconsequential actions that do nothing to alter your trajectory. You might populate your schedule with tasks that feel urgent, yet consciously bypass those that are truly important. The very tasks that hold the power to redefine your life if confronted directly. Moreover, the most insidious aspect of postponement is the false sense of peace it provides. You experience immediate relief from confronting something uncomfortable, but this relief is a subtly toxic substance that lulls you into inertia, rendering you sluggish, insecure, and ultimately dependent. Then, one day, you awaken to the stark realization that years have evaporated, consumed by decisions left unmade, brilliant ideas left unexecuted, and golden opportunities left unseized. Consider, then, the transformative impact of deliberately reversing this pattern. What if, starting today, you committed to making one significant decision each day, however small? What if you acted even when fear whispers doubts, or when clarity is imperfect? Because every decision you resolutely make fortifies your resolve, shaping you into an individual of action, a leader of your own life, someone who no longer awaits perfect conditions to advance. As this habit solidifies, your self-assurance will soar, your perspective will broaden, and your influence will inevitably expand. True wealth transcends mere monetary accumulation. It is fundamentally a construct of decisive action. Individuals who achieve substantial success typically think and decide with swiftness, refining their course as they progress. They are not paralyzed by indecision. They require direction, and they forge that direction through decisive action. Initiate this change today with a single, deliberate decision, one you've been deferring. Execute it, regardless of its perceived difficulty. The critical element is its completion. By doing so, you transmit a powerful signal to your subconscious. I am no longer the person I once was. I am no longer a captive of fear. I am no longer a victim of time. I am an agent of action. This repeated affirmation fundamentally reshapes your identity, and it is this transformed identity that becomes the powerful engine driving all your future accomplishments. Do not permit the apprehension of error to anchor you in poverty. Cultivate a greater fear of inaction, of remaining stagnant, of perpetuating a diminished version of yourself. Every decision represents an avenue for progress, learning, and evolution. Resolve to act today, even amidst trepidation, for the price of waiting invariably outweighs the cost of attempting. The fourth habit that can anchor you in a state of financial stagnation is a deep-seated reliance on sheer willpower and the misguided belief that inspiration is the prerequisite for action. It's a pervasive trap, especially for bright, talented individuals brimming with ambition. They often tell themselves, "I'll get to it tomorrow," or "I'll start when I feel the urge." This reliance on emotional readiness is precisely what perpetuates the cycle of delay. The fundamental misconception lies in believing that motivation must precede action, when in reality, disciplined action is the very catalyst that ignites motivation. The longer you wait to feel ready, the more days, weeks, and years slip away, leaving you in the exact same predicament you vowed to escape. Willpower, while a vital component, is an unreliable foundation on its own. It requires the robust support of systems, established habits, and daily routines that compel you to act even when your feelings are indifferent or negative. Your emotions are inherently fleeting. One day you might feel energized, the next lethargic. If your progress hinges solely on your daily emotional state, your journey is built on shifting sands. Lasting change isn't forged by the person who experiences the most intense initial enthusiasm, but by the one who demonstrates the most consistent discipline, the one who consistently performs necessary tasks, even when enthusiasm is absent. This involves transforming pivotal decisions into ingrained rituals rather than reactive impulses. Consider this. What actions would the ideal, financially secure version of yourself undertake daily, without conscious deliberation? What routines would that person have already embedded into their life? Embody that individual's actions, starting today. Discipline isn't a mystical gift bestowed upon a select few. It's a practice, a daily choice, the invisible muscle that anchors all your aspirations. Without it, dreams evaporate, intelligence lies dormant, and potential remains locked away in theoretical possibility. Begin with a single, manageable task, one that doesn't depend on your mood. Perhaps it's waking a bit earlier, refraining from checking your phone immediately upon waking, or committing to writing down your goals without fail each day. The specific action matters less than the commitment to its consistent repetition until it becomes an automatic part of your life's rhythm. Each time you honor an action irrespective of your emotional state, you communicate a powerful directive to your brain. I am in charge here. Not my excuses, not my fears, not my inertia. This repeated internal affirmation reprograms your very being, initiating a profound, albeit gradual, transformation of your life. Discipline cultivates structure, structure yields results, and those results, in turn, rekindle motivation. This habit of deferring action until one feels ready is a pernicious trap that has derailed more aspirations than any external obstacle. It cleverly disguises itself as logic, self-care, or even wisdom, but it is, in essence, fear manifested. It's the apprehension of failure, the discomfort of deviating from established patterns, the unsettling prospect of embracing a different life. This fear is overcome not by avoidance, but by confronting it directly, by taking action even when your heart races and doubt lingers. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the resolute decision to proceed despite its presence. This essential quality is cultivated through daily practice, deliberate effort, and firm commitments that endure even through challenging times. No one achieves a life of genuine prosperity by waiting for daily inspiration. No one constructs emotional, spiritual, or financial freedom from the passive comfort of doing only what feels enjoyable. True achievement is built on the conviction that your future vision holds greater value than your present comfort. It is built on the understanding that your life's aspirations cannot be dictated by how you feel at any given moment. There will be days when you feel depleted, exhausted, or utterly confused, yet you must still advance. This distinction separates those who achieve from those who merely dream. The dreamer waits for an internal shift before acting. The achiever acts until their desired outcome manifests. Once this principle is grasped, you will cease the debilitating practice of self-comparison and the perpetual question of why some prosper while others languish. You will recognize that the divergence lies not in external opportunities or innate talents, but in the quiet, daily discipline that many overlook or are unwilling to sustain, the sole guarantee of enduring success. If your aim is to escape financial hardship, begin by dismantling the notion that you must feel motivated to initiate change. Start today, even without enthusiasm, inspiration, or an audience, driven solely by the unwavering decision to transcend your current state. For when you compel yourself to do what is necessary, even when you lack the desire, you cross the invisible boundary separating the ordinary from the truly unstoppable individual. The fifth habit that can silently perpetuate poverty, though often less obvious, is the tendency to surround yourself with individuals who do not actively propel you toward growth. The people with whom you spend the most time exert a profound influence on your mindset, your habits, and your perception of what's achievable in life. The daily conversations you engage in, the opinions you absorb, the attitudes you normalize within your social circle, all of these contribute to shaping your internal landscape. If your environment is characterized by constant complaint, pervasive excuses, and negative discourse surrounding finances, success, or life's challenges in general, you will, over time, internalize those same perspectives, regardless of your initial intentions. The environment possesses a power that can easily eclipse personal resolve if one remains unaware of its subtle influence. When individuals around you habitually justify mediocrity, disparage those who achieve progress, mock grand ambitions, or induce guilt for aspiring to more, you are, inadvertently, poisoning your own mindset daily. This insidious poison doesn't kill instantly. It anesthetizes, confuses, and erodes your self-belief. Gradually, you may lower your personal standards to avoid causing discomfort within your group. You might temper your ambitions, speaking less of your goals to avoid appearing arrogant or different. You begin to conceal your aspirations to preserve the acceptance of your existing circle, and in doing so, you unconsciously condemn yourself to repeating the familiar patterns of the past. Mental scarcity is contagious. The need to develop fear is minimal. It is sufficient to be exposed to its constant repetition. Witnessing others justify their stagnation by blaming external forces, the government, their employer, their upbringing, the weather, anything but themselves, can lead to the adoption of those same victimhood narratives. However, you must internalize a critical truth. Your destiny is inextricably linked to your immediate surroundings. If you desire a different life, you must consciously alter your associations. This doesn't necessitate aggressive rejection or disdain for others, but rather a discerning selection of whose voices you permit to resonate within your mind. If the individuals in your current orbit do not inspire you, challenge you, or elevate you, you must actively seek out new influences. To remain stagnant out of fear of isolation is the first step toward resignation, and resignation is the fertile ground where poverty, mediocrity, and apathy take root and flourish. Begin by critically assessing your current social landscape. Do the people around you energize you or drain you? Do they encourage you to strive for your best self, or do they tether you to your comfort zone? Do their conversations revolve around solutions, or are they dominated by complaints about the world? Do they celebrate your advancements, or do they subtly undermine your aspirations? The quality of your relationships directly shapes the quality of your decisions, and it is these daily decisions that architect your future. You cannot afford to expend your vital energy associating with individuals who lack faith in progress, who resist self-improvement, who mock effort, or who remain trapped by their past. You must safeguard your nascent aspirations with the same diligence you would protect a delicate seedling just beginning to sprout. In the early stages, any new endeavor is fragile. Your new path, your evolving mindset, your developing discipline. These require fertile ground, not a field overrun with weeds. Actively seek out individuals who surpass your current achievements. Immerse yourself in literature that challenges your perspective. Engage with content that stretches your understanding, and gravitate toward environments that compel you to grow. This transition might feel uncomfortable initially, perhaps even leaving you feeling out of place, as if you don't belong. Yet, this sense of unfamiliarity is precisely the indicator that you are in the optimal position for growth. When you surround yourself with excellence, you begin to perceive that what once seemed unattainable is commonplace for others. Consequently, your mindset expands, your vision broadens, and your personal standards elevate. With this recalibrated standard, you will no longer tolerate circumstances you previously accepted. You will cease making excuses that once served as comfortable justifications, for you will have witnessed firsthand the tangible reality of a superior way of life. And more importantly, you will understand that this elevated existence is not reserved for an exclusive few, but is accessible to you, provided you are willing to invest the necessary effort. The right environment doesn't guarantee success, but the wrong one all but ensures failure. The true cost of staying in a limiting environment isn't immediate. It's measured in unfulfilled dreams, wasted years, and unrealized potential. You are not obligated to sever ties abruptly, but you must exercise conscious choice regarding how you allocate your time, whose advice you heed, and whose influence you grant over your thoughts. This deliberate selection will demarcate the critical difference between a life of relentless struggle and one of continuous advancement. If, at this moment, you feel a deficit of supportive influences, begin by surrounding yourself with impactful ideas. Read daily. Listen to the insights of those who have achieved mastery. Saturate your mind with vision, clarity, and strategic thinking. Eventually, your social environment will naturally shift as you transcend your previous limitations. Do not fear temporary solitude. Often, it is the price of disengaging from what was holding you back. In this solitude, you will find yourself, and from that self-discovery will emerge the strength required to cultivate the environment you genuinely deserve, an environment characterized by excellence, ongoing growth, and unwavering focus. For the individual who diligently protects their mind is the individual poised to safeguard their future, and such a person inevitably evolves beyond mere financial poverty into a state of profound richness, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual, because they have chosen to associate not with what is comfortable, but with what facilitates genuine transformation. The sixth habit that consistently perpetuates financial hardship, and perhaps one of the most subtly devastating, is the absence of clearly defined goals. Operating without a precise direction is akin to setting sail on a vessel with no charted course, allowing the unpredictable currents of daily life to dictate your destination. Passively hoping for a serendipitous arrival at a more favorable shore. However, genuine success is not an accidental occurrence. It is a meticulously crafted outcome. And that blueprint for achievement commences with a goal that is not vague or amorphous, but specific, tangible, and measurable. An individual adrift without defined objectives tends to react perpetually to immediate pressures, be it mounting debts, unforeseen crises, or the opinions of others. Their energy becomes diffused, their motivation wanes, and their existence contracts to mere survival. It matters little how abundant their innate talents may be, how extensive their experience, or how diligently they labor. Without the beacon of clear objectives, they will never reach a destination of true significance. Effort devoid of direction doesn't build progress. It simply exhausts, depletes, and keeps one perpetually in motion without any discernible advance. Conversely, when an individual establishes well-defined goals, the entire paradigm shifts. Their intellect sharpens, their physical resolve aligns, and their surrounding environment begins to recalibrate in their favor. A distinct objective acts as a powerful filter for decision-making. You gain the clarity to discern precisely what actions to take, what to circumvent, what to embrace with a resounding affirmation, and what to definitively reject. In the absence of goals, virtually everything seems urgent and important. However, with a defined target, the tyranny of the immediate recedes, allowing the truly vital to assume its rightful place of control. We are not discussing nebulous aspirations such as, "I want to improve," or "I desire more wealth." Rather, a genuine goal is concrete, possesses a definitive timeline, quantifies its outcome, and is rooted in a compelling purpose. A meticulously defined objective compels personal evolution, pushing you beyond your comfort zone, necessitating the acquisition of new competencies, fostering a commitment to continuous study, and demanding rigorous self-organization. This necessary discomfort is not detrimental. It is the essential price of transcending mediocrity. The vast majority of individuals who remain mired in financial struggle are not lacking in capability, but in direction. They spend their days extinguishing fires, reacting to external stimuli, and attempting to manage the uncontrollable, rather than channeling their energies toward what they can indeed direct: their choices, their daily routines, their ongoing learning, and their fundamental attitude. When goals are absent, the mind becomes a vacant structure, susceptible to any passing notion, readily accepting any excuse, and easily occupied by fear. However, when clear objectives are in place, the mind adopts a selective posture. It embraces only those thoughts that propel you forward, actively repels detrimental influences, and concentrates its formidable power on that which fosters constructive growth. Committing to articulating your goals daily is paramount. This is not a one-time exercise, but a practice that continues until your vision is so unequivocally sharp that no room remains for doubt. Undertake this commitment even if the precise how remains elusive. The methodology invariably emerges once the what is firmly established. Your intellect does not require guarantees to commence. It requires clarity. And that clarity is attained through the act of writing, visualizing, and internalizing your destiny, not as a series of external circumstances, but as a self-directed creation. You were not put here to replicate the life patterns of your predecessors, nor to remain in a vocational situation that fails to ignite your passion, nor to accumulate a burden of frustration while convincing yourself that this is the norm. Your purpose is to advance, to dismantle limiting cycles, and to forge a lasting legacy. This legacy originates with an objective that extends beyond yourself, one that challenges you, and one that serves as a constant reminder that you are vibrantly alive for a profound reason. There exists no force more potent than an individual with an unambiguous objective. Such an individual navigates life with a distinct bearing, awakens each morning with palpable purpose, and endures setbacks with greater resilience because their ultimate destination is always in clear view. They are not swayed by the transient emotions of the day, for their overarching vision eclipses any temporary fatigue. This individual emanates a compelling magnetism because others sense the inner fire that fuels them, and that fire is sustained by clearly defined goals. In their absence, you remain inert, reacting to the world rather than actively shaping it. and you were not born for such a passive existence. You were destined to carve out your unique space in the annals of history, to leave an indelible mark on your family, your community, and your generation. This profound impact is not achieved through mere wishing, but through precise aiming, clearly identifying your target, and aligning every facet of your life toward a singular, unwavering direction. Initiate this crucial step today. Do not delay. Articulate your inaugural, well-defined objective. Quantify your desired financial outcome. Establish a realistic time frame. Define what you intend to achieve with those resources. Identify the individuals you wish to positively influence. What daily actions are you prepared to undertake to move closer to this aspiration? Write it down. Read it aloud. Reiterate it. And each morning, before engaging with the distractions of the digital world, focus on that objective. Close your eyes and vividly envision its accomplishment. Immerse yourself in the profound emotion of having achieved it. This visceral experience will galvanize you, propelling you forward. And should doubt begin to surface, revisit that written aspiration, that mental image, and recall the fundamental reason for embarking on this journey. Individuals lacking goals drift aimlessly. Those with defined objectives actively construct their destiny. Do not permit your life to be an accidental unfolding. Aspire to sculpt it into a masterpiece. And that ambitious endeavor commences with a written declaration, a resolute decision, and a solemn personal pledge. My life will possess clear direction, for I shall be its architect. The seventh habit that can anchor you in a cycle of financial constraint is the pervasive, often unconscious, belief that learning ceases once formal education concludes. This mindset fosters a dangerous complacency, a notion that one has acquired sufficient knowledge to navigate life's complexities. However, in an era characterized by relentless technological advancement and rapidly evolving economic landscapes, the individual who halts their intellectual growth is, in effect, regressing. This doesn't solely pertain to formal academic pursuits. It extends to cultivating a mindset of continuous improvement, consistently asking oneself, what can I refine today? What new knowledge will propel me closer to my objectives? Which aspects of my life remain stagnant due to a deficit in understanding? For where information is lacking, flawed decisions inevitably arise, leading to consequences that perpetuate limitation. Poverty, therefore, is not exclusively a byproduct of insufficient resources. More often, it stems from a deficiency in essential skills. These are skills that are entirely attainable through dedicated learning. Yet they remain elusive because of the ingrained belief that it is either too late to acquire them or that they are beyond one's reach, reserved, perhaps, for others. This sentiment represents the most perilous form of self-deception, the conviction that one's current reality is immutable, that if foundational learning was missed in youth, there is now no recourse but resignation. This is a profound untruth. Individuals who truly transform their lives do so by embracing the decision to embark on a new learning journey, irrespective of their age, the number of prior failures, or the years spent adhering to an opposing philosophy. Learning is not a luxury, it is an imperative. In the information age, there are simply no valid excuses. The knowledge required to enhance your financial, emotional, professional, or personal circumstances is readily accessible, awaiting only your active pursuit. This necessitates a conscious choice to learn, transforming education from an occasional occurrence into a disciplined, daily practice. If you are genuinely committed to this process of transformation, consider subscribing. This platform is not designed for passive entertainment. It is intended to stimulate a fundamental shift in your thinking, one that extends far beyond the conclusion of this discussion, weaving itself into the fabric of your daily decisions. Furthermore, commit to inscribing a personal declaration in the comments section, a phrase you will revisit in the coming days as a powerful reminder of this pivotal moment. Write with conviction, I will never cease to learn. This utterance is the cry of one who has resolved not to endure another decade unchanged, who comprehends that genuine transformation is inextricably linked to education, and who no longer accepts the comfortable ignorance of stagnation, but actively chooses the pursuit of knowledge, knowledge that may initially discomfort, challenge, and demand, but ultimately liberates. Now, Critically examine your current life circumstances. Exercise complete honesty. What specific skills do you identify as lacking? What abilities, if acquired, could unlock entirely new avenues of opportunity? Consider the realms of effective salesmanship, persuasive communication, astute financial management, prudent investment strategies, disciplined organization, decisive leadership, and adept negotiation. There is no skill so complex that it cannot be mastered with sufficient dedication. The sole impediment separating you from these transformative abilities is often mental inertia, the habitual suppression of your innate curiosity, the tendency to squander leisure time on passive distractions rather than active self-enrichment. However, the very hours currently consumed by diversions such as binge-watching series, aimless scrolling through social media, or engaging in superficial conversations represent the same temporal resource that could be actively invested in constructing a brighter future. You are not required to overhaul your entire life instantaneously. The crucial step is to elevate learning to a primary priority. Dedicate 15 minutes each day to reading, or allocate an hour to listening to educational audio content instead of music without purposeful intent. Inquire each evening, what new insight did I gain today? These seemingly minor, yet consistently applied, actions can fundamentally reshape an individual over the course of a year. The most profound impact, however, lies in how continuous learning enhances self-esteem. With each new skill acquired, you will perceive yourself as more capable, more valuable, more focused, and ultimately, more worthy. You will no longer depend on external entities to resolve your challenges or await opportunities bestowed by external systems. You will proactively create them through knowledge and preparation. This proactive stance is palpable. Others recognize an individual's hunger for growth, affording them greater trust, respect, and influence. This, in turn, opens doors and creates pathways that were previously invisible. Ignorance carries a steep price, measured in lost time, squandered energy, and years spent languishing in unproductive routine. The objective is not merely to accumulate knowledge for its own sake, but to acquire the specific insights that align with your ultimate vision, to become an authority in your chosen domain, and to master the art of self-governance. For an individual who engages in daily self-cultivation can never truly revert to their former limitations. Every step forward in learning signifies a step away from poverty, not only financial, but also mental, emotional, and relational, as these facets are interconnected. What you learn profoundly influences how you live. Consequently, to achieve a richer existence, begin by enriching your mind. No one can divest you of your acquired knowledge, and no force can impede an individual who is resolutely committed to daily self-improvement until their final breath. Another deeply entrenched habit that perpetuates financial hardship, though often left unacknowledged, is the relentless practice of blaming others for one's circumstances. We exist within a societal narrative that frequently prioritizes complaint, embraces victimhood, and engages in an unending quest for external scapegoats. The government, one's employer, parents, a romantic partner, the city of residence, the broader economic system, childhood experiences, sheer luck. The list of potential culprits is virtually limitless, with the individual rarely featuring among them. This pervasive tendency to externalize blame inherently diminishes personal power. When you assign fault to forces outside yourself, you inherently cast yourself in the role of a victim. And a victim, by definition, is a passive recipient, awaiting external intervention for their situation to improve. However, that promised external improvement rarely materializes because the world does not pause to rectify personal predicaments that individuals themselves are unwilling to address. This represents the most subtle yet paralyzing deception, the ingrained belief that one's life would fundamentally differ if the external world were somehow different. While this rationale may appear logically sound, it serves as a potent paralyzer. As long as this belief persists, inertia takes hold. Inaction replaces decisive steps, risk-taking is avoided, discipline falters, and self-investment becomes an afterthought. Meanwhile, time relentlessly marches on, opportunities evaporate, and the cycle of scarcity continues, not due to an inability to escape, but a refusal to accept personal agency in breaking free. Embracing absolute responsibility, while undeniably challenging, is the direct pathway to genuine liberation. The moment an individual consciously decides that they are the sole architect of their life's narrative, a profound internal shift occurs. The passive waiting ceases, the incessant complaining subsides, the endless justifications dissolve, and purposeful action begins to take precedence. More astute decisions emerge, consequences are carefully weighed, and necessary actions are undertaken, irrespective of external validation or understanding. Such an individual becomes a formidable force against mediocrity because their trajectory is no longer contingent upon the world's transformation. They are acutely aware that while they may not control every external factor, they invariably possess dominion over their attitude, their effort, their choices, and their focus. This fundamental principle forms the bedrock of all enduring success. It's crucial to distinguish between accepting responsibility and engaging in self-recrimination. Assigning blame to oneself, "It's all my fault, I'm a complete failure," is merely self-pity masquerading as critical self-assessment. True responsibility entails acknowledging, "I find this situation unsatisfactory, but I tacitly accepted it, allowed it to persist, and sustained it. Now, I possess the power to transform it." This reframing does not crush the spirit. It empowers it, restoring a sense of control and reminding you that you are not irrevocably bound to the outcomes chosen for you by others. There is always a viable path forward, always a fresh decision to be made, always a subsequent step to take. However, this crucial step is not taken by the one who blames, but by the one who embraces their role. This principle extends beyond mere rhetoric into practical application. The next time an endeavor does not unfold as anticipated, resist the urge to ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, pose a more constructive inquiry. What actions on my part led me to this juncture? What can I implement differently now? Which elements of this situation are within my sphere of influence? Engaging in these questions doesn't diminish your strength. It hones your capacity to perceive life not as a series of unavoidable occurrences, but as a strategic arena where you are the primary actor. Certainly, injustices and systemic limitations exist, but surrendering to them is akin to conceding defeat before the battle has truly commenced. Your purpose is not to merely exist within predefined constraints, but to forge your own unique path, even if it requires starting anew, without guarantees, fueled solely by unwavering determination. The majority opt for the easier route, perpetuating blame. Because assigning fault is simple, shouldering responsibility demands fortitude. Yet, liberation has always been the exclusive privilege of the courageous, and you possess that inherent capacity. The moment you relinquish the habit of blame marks the beginning of your ascent, with each subsequent step being genuine, solid, and unequivocally yours, a testament to your commitment, your vision, and your resolve, unyielding to external factors. No justifiable excuse can legitimize a life devoid of purpose. Only decisions exist, those made and those deferred. And these choices are the very threads weaving the tapestry of your destiny. Right now, adopt an unyielding stance towards yourself. Forbid yourself from uttering another complaint without accompanying it with a concrete action plan. Refuse to entertain another excuse without simultaneously identifying a solution. Every instance of blaming another should serve as a prompt to pause and ask, "And what decisive action will I take in response to this?" Ultimately, you are the sole inheritor of your life's consequences, and you deserve to experience them with dignity, empowerment, and the profound peace that comes from knowing you did not passively await external salvation, but actively orchestrated your own rescue. That individual, the one who assumes complete accountability, is the one who inevitably transcends poverty, mediocrity, and inherited limitations, having consciously chosen to be the author, not the victim, of their own narrative. The eighth habit that traps individuals in a cycle of financial scarcity is the neglect of cultivating a personal financial ecosystem that fosters resilience and growth. It's not enough to simply earn and save. One must actively construct a system where resources are not only protected, but also strategically deployed to generate further value. This involves understanding that money, like a living organism, needs a nurturing environment to thrive. When left unprotected, exposed to the elements of inflation, unexpected market downturns, or unforeseen personal emergencies. Even diligently saved funds can wither. A robust financial ecosystem isn't built on a single pillar of income, but on a diversified network of assets and strategies designed to weather storms and seize opportunities. Consider the concept of financial diversification not merely as an investment term, but as a fundamental principle of survival and prosperity. Just as a gardener wouldn't plant a single type of crop susceptible to a specific blight, a financially savvy individual avoids concentrating all their resources in one area. This might manifest as having multiple streams of income, ranging from a primary career to supplementary ventures or passive revenue-generating assets. Furthermore, it involves strategically allocating capital across different asset classes, stocks, bonds, real estate, perhaps even tangible assets, each with its own risk-reward profile. This layered approach acts as an insurance policy against the volatility inherent in any single market or economic sector, ensuring that if one element falters, others can provide stability and continue to fuel progress. Building this ecosystem requires a shift from simply accumulating wealth to intentionally managing and multiplying it. Think of it as becoming a conductor of your own financial orchestra, ensuring each instrument plays its part harmoniously. This means more than just setting aside money. It involves understanding how to leverage those savings. For instance, knowledge of compound interest isn't just an academic concept. It's a powerful engine for wealth creation when applied consistently over time. Furthermore, understanding basic principles of responsible leverage, using borrowed funds strategically to amplify returns on investments rather than simply to finance consumption, can significantly accelerate growth. This requires diligent research, calculated risk assessment, and a willingness to educate oneself continuously about financial instruments and market dynamics. The individual who actively cultivates this financial ecosystem is not merely reacting to financial events. They are proactively shaping them, creating a personal economy that is self-sustaining and increasingly robust. Moreover, a truly resilient financial ecosystem incorporates contingency planning for life's inevitable disruptions. This includes establishing an emergency fund that can cover several months of living expenses, acting as a buffer against job loss, unexpected medical bills, or significant home repairs. This fund isn't for investment. Its sole purpose is to provide security and peace of mind, preventing a minor setback from becoming a catastrophic financial derailment. This foresight is not born of pessimism, but of practical wisdom. It acknowledges the unpredictable nature of life and proactively mitigates its potential financial impact. Consequently, instead of facing a crisis with dread and desperation, the individual with a well-established financial ecosystem can approach it with a degree of calm and a clear strategy for navigating through it, often emerging stronger and more resilient on the other side. This proactive management transforms the relationship with money from one of anxious scarcity to one of confident stewardship. Furthermore, a crucial element of escaping the poverty mindset lies in understanding and actively engaging with the concept of building a robust financial ecosystem, one that moves beyond mere accumulation and embraces strategic cultivation. This involves recognizing that wealth, much like a living entity, requires an environment conducive to growth and resilience. It's about creating a layered defense, not just a single point of defense, against the inevitable fluctuations of the economic landscape. Consider it analogous to a sophisticated agricultural system. You don't just sow seeds. You prepare the soil, diversify your crops, implement irrigation, and protect against pests and adverse weather. Similarly, a thriving financial life requires more than just earning money. It demands conscious design and ongoing management. Building upon this foundational understanding, it becomes evident that true financial strength stems from diversification. Think of this not solely as an investment strategy, but as a principle of robust living. Just as a forest thrives with a variety of tree species, each resilient to different conditions, a healthy financial life benefits from multiple revenue streams and varied assets. This means exploring avenues beyond a single primary income source. Perhaps it's cultivating a side hustle that leverages a unique skill, investing in dividend-paying stocks that generate regular income, or exploring real estate opportunities that offer both appreciation and rental yield. Each diversified stream acts as a reinforcement, ensuring that if one source falters, others can continue to provide stability and propel your progress forward. Consequently, the focus must shift from passive saving to active wealth generation. This involves understanding the intricate mechanisms by which money can work for you, rather than you solely working for it. Consider the power of compound interest, a force that, when harnessed effectively, can transform modest savings into substantial fortunes over time. It's about deploying capital strategically, not merely hoarding it. This might involve learning about responsible leverage, the judicious use of borrowed funds to magnify investment returns. For instance, leveraging a mortgage to acquire an income-generating property, or using business loans to expand operations and increase profitability. This approach requires diligent research, a keen assessment of risks, and a commitment to continuous learning about financial instruments and market dynamics. The individual who actively cultivates this financial ecosystem is not merely reacting to economic shifts. They are proactively shaping their financial destiny, crafting a personal economy that is increasingly self-sufficient and robust. Another crucial layer in developing this resilient financial framework is the implementation of comprehensive contingency planning. Life, by its very nature, presents unpredictable challenges. Thus, establishing a substantial emergency fund is paramount. This fund, typically designed to cover 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses, acts as a crucial buffer against unforeseen events such as job displacement, unexpected medical crises, or significant property damage. The purpose of this fund is not investment growth, but the provision of essential security and psychological peace of mind. Its existence prevents minor setbacks from escalating into full-blown financial catastrophes. This foresight is not rooted in pessimism, but in practical, well-informed wisdom. It acknowledges the inherent unpredictability of existence and proactively mitigates its potential financial repercussions. Consequently, instead of facing adversity with trepidation and desperation, an individual possessing a well-established financial ecosystem can approach it with a measure of composure and a clearly defined strategy for navigating the challenge. Often, they emerge from such trials not diminished, but stronger and more resilient. This proactive management fundamentally transforms one's relationship with money, moving from a stance of anxious scarcity to one of confident and capable stewardship. Reflecting on this journey thus far, it becomes undeniably clear that the architecture of a prosperous life is not erected on the shifting sands of chance or external circumstance. Instead, it is meticulously constructed from the inside out, through a conscious and continuous process of internal recalibration. The patterns we've illuminated, the subtle yet potent habits that can either liberate or incarcerate us, are not isolated incidents, but interconnected elements of a far grander design. They speak to a fundamental truth, that our external reality is, in essence, a mirroring of our internal state, a tangible manifestation of the beliefs we hold and the actions we consistently choose. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider how these individual threads, the conscious management of resources, the courageous embrace of decisive action, the cultivation of expansive vision, the unwavering commitment to disciplined practice, the discerning curation of our social spheres, the clear articulation of our aspirations, the perpetual hunger for knowledge, and the radical acceptance of personal accountability begin to weave together. They form not a collection of disparate advice, but a cohesive tapestry, revealing a more profound understanding of the forces that shape our destinies. It's as if each piece of wisdom, initially appearing as a solitary star, now contributes to a constellation, guiding us towards a horizon previously obscured by doubt. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer, not as a rigid, predetermined route, but as an evolving landscape that we actively shape with every conscious step. The cumulative effect of these shifts is akin to a river carving its course through solid rock. Persistent, focused energy can reshape even the most seemingly immutable terrain. We are not merely spectators of our circumstances, but active participants in their creation. The journey thus far has been about uncovering the blueprints, about understanding the very nature of the materials with which we build our lives, and about recognizing the latent power that resides within us to forge something truly extraordinary. This understanding lays the groundwork for the ultimate realization of our inherent potential. The grand tapestry of transformation, woven from the threads of our shared human experience, reveals a profound truth. Poverty, in its deepest sense, is not an external condition imposed by circumstance, but an internal identity that we must consciously choose to shed. It is not the absence of currency, but the absence of a cultivated mindset that actively sabotages progress. You have journeyed through the recognition of these insidious habits, the unconscious spending, the paralyzing postponement, the constricting smallness of thought, the unreliable reliance on fleeting emotion, the limiting embrace of uninspired company, the profound power of a clear purpose, the relentless pursuit of knowledge, and the ultimate reclamation of personal agency. Each step, though perhaps challenging, has been a movement toward liberation, an awakening to the dormant power that resides within you, waiting to be unleashed. This isn't about merely acquiring more possessions or accumulating wealth for its own sake. It is about the profound evolution of self, about becoming the kind of individual who not only attracts abundance, but also stewards it wisely. The true wealth lies not in what you hold in your hands, but in what you embody, your discipline, your vision, your resilience, your unwavering commitment to growth. When you cease to define yourself by what you lack and instead embrace what you are capable of becoming, the external world begins to realign. Your choices become deliberate, your actions purposeful, and your trajectory shifts from one of reaction to one of creation. The external landscape of your life, your financial status, your relationships, your opportunities, will invariably begin to reflect this fundamental internal metamorphosis. The journey doesn't end with this understanding. Rather, the true practice begins now. It is in the quiet moments, in the everyday decisions, that the seeds of this transformation are continually sown and nurtured. It is in the steadfast commitment to your goals, even when the path is unclear, and in the courage to embrace learning, even when it demands stepping outside your comfort zone. It is in the conscious choice to surround yourself with those who uplift and inspire, and in the unwavering resolve to own your narrative, to become the sole author of your destiny. This is not a destination to be reached, but a way of being to be cultivated, a continuous unfolding of your highest potential. You possess the inherent capacity not just to survive, but to truly thrive, to build a life that is not only prosperous, but profoundly purposeful and deeply fulfilling. Embrace this ongoing evolution with courage and conviction, for within you lies the blueprint for a magnificent future, waiting to be brought into being.